A while ago, a young girl who's about 21 years old asked me, this is a girl who I've watched growing up, so I kind of know her on a personal level. And she asked me, is it good? Is there a problem with starting an OnlyFans? And that question pierced my heart. It may seem like a like hypocrisy because I have my own OnlyFans, but for someone that young, she's not even at a young sana. She's in her early 20s. But that question made me feel so bad because it brought to me the awareness that there's younger people who follow me, who care about the things I post, who follow the things I do, and who actually see me and maybe say, I want to be like that. I want to do things like that. I want to become like that. And I realized that most times, especially as someone who posts a lot online, when you're posting, you don't really think about the effects on other people because mostly you're just posting. Like me, I post for myself. I don't really care if people watch or not. If they watch, good. If they don't watch, good. It's just me posting the things I like, the things I love, things I do. It has nothing really tied to it. I never really take a minute to think about the people who watch me. What do they feel? How do they think? Do they want to copy me? Do they? And I mean, yes, of course, I'm aware on some level that there's some influence that I have, considering I have a substantial amount of followers on my social media. But then her asking me this question made me have to sit back and think, oh shit, there's actual younger women who follow me. When I started Love and Orgasms, I wasn't trying to be a role model. I wasn't really trying to be someone people look up to and try to become like. But then I guess with, I don't know, there's just something about social media where it kind of makes the world a global village. We're able to reach each other, seek out information easier. And I'm happy for the platform I have because not only am I able to influence and share my experiences and thoughts and feelings, I'm also able to have the privilege to sit and see what do the people want and what should I give them. But then I hadn't really thought about it like that until this beautiful girl asked me this question. And so I said I had to address it because most times when we're posting, we don't really post the bad side of things. We don't post the bad feelings, the brokenness, the when you're beaten and down and you're heartbroken. We don't really show those sides. We just post when we're doing nice things that look good online. And this is the reason I want to speak about this because, of course, I've amassed a new following as the years went by, but the OG followers know. They know a little bit about my history and how I started out. And how I started out is I was a very hypersexual kid. I got exposed to sex and porn and sex stuff quite early. And of course, your sexual habits, your sexual behavior are always going to mirror the traumas and the information you had around sex growing up, your sexual experiences. They inform your sex life as you grow up. I talk about the onset of my sex life in the porn episode and in the masturbation episode. You should definitely check those out. And I talk about how watching porn early is what made me start masturbating early. And then, in essence, just it all became this whole online persona of this lady who talks about sex, teaches about sex, and is always doing sex stuff. But before I got to where love and orgasms was what it is now, most people didn't get what I was doing because I also didn't know what I was doing. I was just a kid who knew too much about sex and had so many questions about sex. And in Africa, especially, sex is a very taboo topic. It's not something that's welcomed easily as a conversation. So you can imagine being a young girl who's talking about sex with the inequality, even in gender, when it comes to even being a vocal person. I've had it pretty rough. And I know, especially when people tie your name to sex stuff, it's just they demean you, they treat you as cheap. Let me use the word cheap because it kind of encompasses what I mean. People will always treat you like a whore, like you're dumb, like you don't know what you're doing, like you're only good for sex. Most people for the longest time have only strictly approached me for a sexual relationship. People don't care that I'm smart, that I'm intelligent, that I have a personality, that I'm kind. They do not care that I'm funny, that I make people laugh. When they talk to me because they feel I could give sex up easily or because all I talk about is sex. They don't think I notice this, but as I grow older, I start being more aware that, oh, kumbe people are not nice to me because that I'm so and so. They're nice to me because they just want to fuck. And I'm sure most women understand what I'm talking about. You don't need to be a special kind of woman for you to experience all these things. As long as you have a vagina at some point, you've started to see that the people of the other gender accommodate you mostly because they think sex is on the table. As soon as you make it clear you're not down to fuck or you're not easy to fuck, the interest ends or they stop trying to be your friend. They normally use this line for, I just want to be friends. And then we can flow from there. But immediately they fuck you, watajipea shughuli. I never used to have the words to talk about this because I didn't have enough experience to put it into words. But now, when I look in hindsight, I can see. And when I was a kid, the first time I ever noticed that sex had some power was when my boobs were starting to grow and I had significantly bigger boobs than my peers. And I noticed my cleavage. Anytime my cleavage was out, I got favors, I got treated nicer. People were extra nice to me. I never really used to have the connection, but I knew when I wore certain tops, when I looked a certain way, when I wore lip gloss and I wore nice diamond earrings and my cleavage was out, people treated me nicely. And I used to use this a lot because I would see, even in school, whether it was teachers or men who were way older than me, it always worked. And you see, all these things are what zimechangia to the kind of sexual experiences I have now or my sexual life. Of course, I've had to unlearn and learn a few things along the way, but basically, there's a dark side to this sex thing. When you're young, of course, huambiliki, husemezeki, it's not easy for you to understand or even listen and take in what you're being explained for. But Mimi, the older I've been growing, is just how I've been able to see better that there's a difference when I wear a pull neck and when my cleavage is out. So when she asked me this question for OnlyFans, I felt like a hypocrite. I felt, how can I tell her I would not support her starting her OnlyFans when I myself had my own OnlyFans? I've had it for 4 years. And the truth is, yes, sex sells. I've made a lot of money from it, possibly a lot more money than I've ever made in other ways. But you see, and I can't say I started it at the, I honestly, if if I was friends with me from 4 years ago, I would have told her not to open the OnlyFans. But you see, I do not post explicit content on there. Most people who have an OnlyFans, they post sexual content, stuff that's explicit. porn stuff and things like that. And I'm sure when this lady was asking me about this, she was asking because she probably thought that's what I post also, or she wants to post that for herself. I know that's what she wanted to post for herself. And it got me so worried. So my next task was to find a way to explain to her that an OnlyFans was the worst idea, especially for her age. I would never advise anyone under 25 to make such a decision. You have to remember that the internet never forgets. Everything that you put on there, you have to be able to live with the consequences. And I don't think anyone who's younger than 25 understands consequences. I don't think at that age you're able to like actively and comprehensively elewa that these are the consequences of this. It's just fun and games because you're going to see the girls your age who have an OnlyFans. They're traveling, they're buying expensive stuff, not investing, because at that age you don't even have, unless you're super exposed, of which I doubt. Sex work would be the easier way out. I don't want to seem like I'm speaking from privilege, because I know there's some people who do sex work because it's their way of life. Like that's how they earn a living. And it's no shade, it's no judgment. I'm very pro sex work. But I'm speaking to the girls who don't have to, but they want to because they see other girls their age doing it, or they see people they look up to doing it, and they think this girl probably affords her vacations because she has an OnlyFans. She bought a car because she has an OnlyFans. Listen, I think you have to really sit and think about the consequences, like the mental implications, the emotional implications. Once you share such a part of your body with others out there, you have to be sure that you're very okay with the consequences. And like I said, below 25, I don't think someone below 25 is able to understand like the consequences of that. And no matter how grown you feel or how unavailable emotionally you feel, I think it will still affect you psychologically and emotionally, because being that vulnerable with people, especially people who do not deserve it, when you put your stuff out there, you don't get to control who consumes it or how it's going to be consumed. It's out there, it's out there. And I know everyone is different. Sometimes you learn from experience, sometimes you learn from stories, sometimes you learn from watching people online. But the kind of environment I try to create here is for people to learn from me without necessarily having to go through the things that I went through. The reason I'm able to be here is because I'm able to forgive myself and I'm able to live with my consequences. I have accepted that this is what I want to do, and I know how to navigate it. And it's not easy because imagine 10 years ago when I was 20 years old. This is in 2014. I was 20 years old doing media tours talking about sex. My parents are staunch Christians. Nobody was talking about sex those days. There was no blogs about sex like the way there are now. Like there was no sex education the way there is now, where people are even able to say words like fuck, pussy, vagina. It was just a very different time. And I would see how people looked at me. I would see how people treated me. I saw how people would sideline me because they just assumed I'm a whore, I'm a prostitute, which is okay, but they obviously judged me according to that. And sometimes I lost so many opportunities because of this judgment. I used to tell myself, if people want to work with me, I want them to work with me knowing very well this is the work I do. I talk about sex. I don't want to omit it. I don't want to act like it's something it's not something I do. I want it to be part of my personality because I want to be an advocate for sex. I want to bring the education to everyone because I grew up at a time where I had no guidance and I learned the hard way. That's why right now I'm able to forgive myself and sit with the consequences of the decisions I made because it's a path I chose very intentionally. I sat down and actually decided, yo, I'm doing this. I'm going the extra mile and I'm doing this. I think it's really important to reach a place first where you are able to make decisions that you will be very grateful for, a space where you're able to accept yourself, and this means accepting the consequences of the decision you make. You have to make sure it's worth it. A simple decision such as, sometimes when I know I'm going to have a long day, I cook my meal in the morning so that nikirudi jioni, I come back to a fresh meal. It helps me save from eating out. It helps me have a very healthy meal. And when I come back home tired, I don't have to start cooking because I already cooked. And I'm always very grateful to past me because I'm like, wow, thank God I cooked in the morning because I would have been too tired to cook in right now because I've had such a long day. So that's how I normally think. I think the decisions I'm making now, how will they make future me feel? And making mistakes is okay. Some people learn better through theory, some people learn even better through experiences. But I'm starting to realize that the more I keep my word to myself, the more I fall in love with myself, the more I treat myself better, the more I stick to my word, the more I get to know myself better, and the more I make is what helps me make better decisions for myself always. I sat and thought about all this, and I was honest with her, and I told her it's not something I would recommend, regardless of how much you make. Even if you're making a million bob a day, I would not actively recommend anyone to open an OnlyFans unless, especially an OnlyFans where they're posting explicit content, porn of themselves, unless they're very, very, very sure that they're ready and willing to deal with the consequences of that. Because it's not easy, it's not rosy. Anywhere you'd want to post your nudes, whether it's you've decided you're doing sex work, ama you're posting it for free, there's repercussions, there's things you have to really think about. So if you follow me and you're younger and you think, I'd like the shoes she's wearing because, I think nini nini, please understand that most of these things are things I have built from the ground up for a long time coming. A long time. Some of the shoes I have, I had to save CG for how long. Some of the, even sometimes people don't post the bad sides of life. I'm not going to post the days I don't have rent or the days I don't have food, but I'm going to post on the day that I've eaten out. It doesn't mean that it's a lie or it's not my truth. It just means you have to be very careful with how you make your decisions for yourself. Do not entirely see other people and think, if she's doing it, I should do it too. Just sit back, ask questions, think deeply about everything you want to do. Don't even copy people. That's why I don't believe in these things for Sijui. I don't want to say it in a way that might be like condescending, but I think everyone should just work hard on building their own individuality. You can learn through so many ways. Like I said, you can learn through other people's mistakes. You don't always have to make mistakes so that you understand things better. But for OnlyFans, while yes, it's an easy way to make good money, it's also an easy way to send you spiraling horribly with your mental and emotional health. So if you're young, I'd say please wait. If you can wait, because you'll wake up one day and you'll realize that it's a decision you shouldn't have made. It's the same way as casual sex. I mean, these things are fun when you're young and there's no consequences. But once you're starting to have real life consequences when you're older, like now you're older, you have to know your HIV status. You have to know about if you have an STI, you have to know if you're healthy, if you're happy. You have to work out so that your muscles are not getting brittle. The older you grow, you have to eat healthier, you have to stop smoking, like you have to stop drinking alcohol. All these things, they're fun when the consequences are not as real, but when it starts hitting you and you have to start paying the real price with your body and your mind and your heart, it's different. So, with that, I say take everything with a pinch of salt. Educate yourself to the point where you're able to make very independent decisions without too much influence from other people, because what I enjoy might not be what you enjoy. What I like might not be what you like. And we're very, very different at the end of the day. So just love yourself enough to get more information to improve your decisions. Would I advise anyone to join OnlyFans? Nope. Will I say that it makes a lot of money? Yes. So with that, just sit with it, think about it, and make very informed decisions.